does, and I learned, is they help you identify those tools that you have and try to teach you how to put the tools into play when you need to pull them out. You know what I
Right.
mean? Um,
And
thankfully, I was just gonna say, thankfully, I've never had to have professional help at this point. You know,
mhm.
Lord willing, keep it that way. But I've also had to learn hard lessons on when I can feel myself slipping one way or the other, and,
Right.
and then had to figure out how to control those feelings. Everybody doesn't have that same kind of mental governing, and you got to do what you got to do. Is my point.
Yeah. Okay, Yakira, what are your thoughts on mental health? And it doesn't even just have to be from a professional standpoint, just personally, like, what do you feel like you see when mental health affects physical or overall health?
I think that for me, it kind of works more or less the same in the sense that if I am in a depressed mood, for example, I may not feel like working out, or depending on how I'm feeling that day, maybe I might not feel like getting out of bed. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
One of the symptoms of depression, there's several of them, but one of them is what we call anhedonia, which is basically the lack of pleasure, or the things that used to interest you no longer interest you. Right. And so that kind of manifests in so many different ways, depending on the individual. Some people will not get out of bed. Some people will kind of isolate themselves and retreat when they were
Mm-hmm.
normally social, you know. But yeah, that can absolutely have an effect on physical health, especially when it comes to being active or eating habits. Now, in terms of addressing mental health, for me, I am a big advocate of therapy. I think that it is something that is very underused, especially in the black community, because I believe the
Yes.
black
Yep.
community has a stigma. It holds a stigma against mental health. And so a lot of us do not seek the help that we probably need,
Exactly.
because sometimes we do try to cope or deal with our issues ourselves, and we end up internalizing these problems that may be carrying from childhood, for all I know, and
Yeah.
it's starting to manifest in different ways, whether it be how people resolve conflicts, or how they may break out in a tantrum, or things like that, things that we don't really think about, right? And a therapist
Yeah.
may be able to pinpoint those types of problems that are underlying and subconscious for us. And for me, I don't have a therapist right now, but that's something that I'm very much interested in finding before things really get rough. So,
Mm-hmm.
being in emergency medicine as a physician, I expect to see a lot of things. And I know that a lot of people in that particular field of emergency medicine are at risk of developing things like PTSD from the things that they see,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
before I get to that point, I'd rather be able to talk it out with somebody. And if I need to take further action, then I might need to seek some medical help, see a psychiatrist or something if
Mm-hmm.
it gets that far, But I think that we don't really take advantage of therapy and counseling the way that we should.
Mm-hmm. Now, I totally agree with that. And that's great that you bring that up because we don't, I think one of the key points where, we don't see how the way we handle things, if we may need to talk with someone or address issues that we kind of like let go, how that affects our decision making and the way we interact with, loved ones or just, in our work life, things like that. We don't see how we may be like affecting others or how we even may come off because it's so normal to us and that's just what we've done and it may not be healthy. But to us, it's like kind of like become a part of who you are
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
instead of you even addressing that there is an issue, even though it's kind of like normal to you. It still could be an issue. So
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a great point. And it just stemming from like what you were saying with going into emergency medicine because I worked in the inpatient pharmacy in a hospital for about like 4 or 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
and just the things that you see, like the different nurses and different physicians and just everyone really within the hospital, like you see things, you know what I mean, and you deal with things and like you would kind of like feed off of their energy or just like I would see how they reacted or whatever. So sometimes it is problematic. I'm not going to go into, detail, obviously, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
those therapy sessions, can be very useful when you try to balance out work life, personal life, whatever. So I think that's
Right.
a great point. Really great point. Theo, did you have something to add? I didn't want to cut you off.
Oh no, no. I was just gonna say I agree. I agree that therapy is an underused and underappreciated tool and an option is a better word
Mm-hmm.
that we have. Um, we do have, to both of you all's points, Yakira's point of therapy being underused, Jaleesa, your point of we have the new hot word is toxic. We have a toxic view of our emotional intelligence, especially
Mm-hmm.
in the black community. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so many issues we face and so many things we go through. People just lack emotional intelligence. They
Yeah.
they they have been shunned or told that if they feel a way or show emotion, that is considered weakness. Or, like you said, our family just is that way. We've always been that way. It doesn't mean it's healthy. It just means you learn how to cope with it and survive through it.
Right.
And then even within our community, the hierarchy syndrome of, well, that's my elder, so I can't challenge them, or they're a child and I don't have to explain to them, and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and
That's
that
big too.
that keeps a cycle going of emotional ignorance.
Yeah.
Um,
Or even, just someone, going on and no one ever telling them. So it's just like, well, no one else, they may like look to challenge you to like for other opinions. So now you have to essentially get like a group in on it for everyone to tell this one person
right,
something that is true, but then you feel bad because it's like, well, we don't want to like really like gang up on you or anything, but it's like it's
right,
true. So
Right. Right.
right.
yeah.
Because something I've definitely seen to that regard is you also kind of have people that are themselves kind of, I would say, void of knowing how to press through a person's resistance.
Hmm.
And, sometimes it could kind of get kicked back on you as, well, you're not perfect. How can you say something about me? And
Yep.
the problem with that is that's the point. I'm supposed to tell you, since I care about you, this is what I see. Doesn't have anything to do with my perfection or anything or imperfections. It has to do with my care for you. And we haven't learned that that level of vulnerability is even needed, let alone okay, from even a
Hmm.
person that's trying to hold somebody else accountable. You got to be vulnerable enough to say, yeah, I have my stuff that I'm working on, but here's something that I see that possibly could be killing you. You know what
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
and the biggest place I see that, and I'm not taking sides, so I'll just say in same sex relationships as far as friends, dudes that are friends and ladies that are in groups of friends. Uh, we don't do very well at holding our friends accountable, or if we do, we don't keep them in a place of accountability. So
Hmm.
I've seen men and guys that, you got male friends that are just doing wrong. And instead of challenging him and possibly, causing a confrontation, you just let him be himself. And it's like, well, that's not right. And then,
Right. Right.
I've seen groups of girlfriends that it's like, your friend is wrong. She's wrong. Just tell her she's wrong. But it's more of that, nope, we're going to stick together to the end.
Right.
Yeah. Because
That's
And
then you have to
healthy.
deal with that problem. You actually have to, and you
yeah,
already know that it's not going to just be one conversation, probably. So,
exactly. So,
yeah.
it's those elements that I see that are very problematic, even from a person that has to help somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I can relate.
Definitely. Great answers. Well, that was kind of like the last tidbit I wanted to cover. So we've gone over, mental health, physical health, and just overall, just everyone's kind of views on all of those things. So, uh, because I am a person who always likes to, encourage others and just kind of like see the positive, things in life, what would be one thing that you guys would say is like a near future goal that you care to share, that you're, working on towards either physical or mental health?
Got to think about that one. How near the future are we talking about? How near in the future?
Like just, within maybe over summer for the, remainder of the summer. Let's just say that. Because a lot of people like kind of, take the summer to, well, a lot of people take the winter to actually like get in better physical health. But what would you say just over summer going into, the fall, what would you say you would, a goal, physical health or mental health that you would like to see for yourself? I can start if you guys want.
Sure.
And you can kind of
Yeah,
think
go
on
ahead.
it.
I'll let you go first. I know what I want to say, but you can go ahead and go first.
All right. So I just think, physical health for me. So I just want to see myself doing a lot more of those calisthenic exercises or just anything at home. I would, like to get out more and do more out. Like I do like to run. So I would like to actually like take up running again on nice days because it's pretty warm out. So maybe like late in the evening, things like that. So I would say physical health for me. And overall, when I do that, I feel like my mental health is elevated anyway at that point because I feel better. I feel like I'm, challenging myself and meeting those goals. So that would be it for me. Theo?
For me, I'm actually working towards doing a bodybuilding competition.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so for
Nice.
me, yeah, for me, it's kind of setting that bar ahead of myself. I've been working at it for 6 years, and you know,
Oh.
through various situations in life, I've never actually gotten to the point of competing. But that's kind of my ultimate goal. That's the carrot I dangle in front of myself. Because the lifestyle that comes along with it, obviously, would just be a good lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And then you know how people train to run 5Ks and they train to play a sport. Bodybuilding is considered the same kind of sport with a Super Bowl or a goal at the end, a championship, so to speak. So I want to be I want to be able to accomplish that goal and really see it through to the end.
Good. Nice. Well, then, in between time, I'll make sure I shoot you a text and say, how's that coming along?
Do, please do.
Kira, did you think of one?
I'm still kind of thinking a little bit because the thing is, I'm in a bit of a transition, right? Where I'm going to get ready to start working, right? So my
Mm-hmm.
summer is about to be done in a week.
Mm-hmm.
Once
Oh,
I
yeah.
start working, then I don't really know what to expect from work. I do know that I'm going to be very busy.
Mm-hmm.
My hours are going to be unusual. So I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
work a regular 9 to 5. I may be working night shifts, evening shifts, early morning shifts. And there will be a huge learning curve that comes with finally stepping in and being the doctor, right? That's taking
Mm-hmm.
care of patients. So I think that more of my focus will be on my mental health, trying to maintain a stable mood and stable mental health from the standpoint of not getting overwhelmed and from being adaptable and developing the grit that I need or whatever attributes that I am expected to develop as an emergency medicine physician. Now, this is going to take me 3 years. So, over the course of 3 years, this will develop.
Mm-hmm.
But for the near future, I would love to maintain the my mental health in the sense of not getting overwhelmed or being overworked or
Mm-hmm.
becoming very anxious, nervous, and
Mm-hmm.
the depression. So I think that's my number one goal for now in the near future.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's great.
Hmm.
Actually, two things came to mind when you said all of that. I was thinking of, especially when you say mental health, a thing my sister actually, I saw her do at one point was use. I hope she's okay with me saying that, but anyway, she used like sticky notes and put like positive quotes and just like things. So like maybe like if you see yourself like you would just like maybe if you count down like whatever like little things that you do to kind of like de-stress or keep your mind clear. Maybe just
Mm-hmm.
put it on like sticky notes, put it on your walls, and like when you go home, you see it and you're like, okay, kind of like refresh or whatever. And also, since you said you don't know what your schedule will be like and you're moving into something different, maybe like that meal